welcome to the showcase of my latest project, which is an e-commerce site built with Astro for the front end and microservices based in Spring Boot for the backend. Here you can see a sneak peek of the UI, but for now, let's head into Excalibur, where I'll showcase how the whole system works. On the left side, we have the client side, which is again built with Astro. It runs in port 4321, and all the requests that it does, it get issued to the API gateway, which is built using Spring Cloud, which runs in port 8080. Then this gateway forwards the request to the corresponding service. So here you can see we have 5 different services. We'll start with the product service, which is the one that stores the information regarding all the products that we have on store. The store is mainly focused on watches, so you will see that everything is about watches. And it runs in port 8081. This route is public, meaning that we don't require authentication in order to be able to access most of its endpoints, although some of them are restricted. And the way they are restricted is through roles. So we have users and we have administrators. So most of the endpoints of the product service that are not public are only limited to administrators, so that they can manage the backside of the store, let's say. Then we have the auth service, which runs in port 8092, and it uses Spring Security to authenticate users through HTTP cookies. But it also uses Keycloak, which is an OAuth provider that you can see here. Here we have our dashboard, and you can see that we have all these users. This means that they have not verified their email. These are random users that I have created just for demonstration purposes. And yeah, and then we have the cart service and the order service. These servers are decoupled from the rest of the other services. Since this is a microservice architecture, I didn't want to couple them together so that if one fails, the whole platform fails. Instead, that part of feature or functionality of the platform is just not available. And so each has its own autonomy. So for example, the product service stores all the products in a MySQL database. The cart service does the same. So it stores all the carts in a MySQL database, but they don't have any relationship between them. So for example, when the user wants to create a cart, we store in a database or in a table that we call cards, we store the user ID that comes from the auth service, and then we store the product ID, which comes from the product service. But we are not able to create an SQL relation between cart and product because they are not in the same database, right? And so every time that the user wants to fetch the cart, as you will see later in the UI, the cart service will have to fetch the products through an HTTP method. So it will create an HTTP GET request to the product service in order to get the information from the product service, because the cart service doesn't have the products stored into the database, right? Same for the order. So once we want to create a purchase, we basically have to fetch the user card. We cannot simply access it through SQL. We just have to fetch it using an HTTP request. And so all these services communicate between them using HTTP methods, but this is not the case for the notification service. The notification service has 3 main purposes, which is, basically it notifies users, but it does so in 3 different scenarios. And the way it works is through Kafka. So for example, for the first case, which is very simple, when the user registers in our platform, we send an email so that they can verify that their email is correct. And this is done through Kafka. So the auth service sends a message through Kafka to the notification service, and the notification service picks up the message and sends the email once the service is available. Same for the product. So for example, if an item is out of stock, the users can add their email to that product, and then we will notify them once the item is back in stock. And so that is done through Kafka. So we send the Kafka message, and then the notification service picks up that message when it's available and sends the message. Same for the order service. So when a user creates an order, we fetch the user card, we fetch the user addresses from the auth service. Then we save that order in the order database, and then we send the message to the notification service. The notification service picks up that message and sends the email to the user, right? And so with all that, here you can see we have all the microservices running. We have the notification, the auth, the cart, the order, the product, and the gateway. I want to talk briefly about the product service, because here we have a Docker Compose file, and this one is the one, if we run this Docker Compose file, we basically get all the images that we need. So this is MySQL, Keycloak, and ClickOckDB and ClickOck for so that we can run the whole application. If we go back to the UI, this is the product information of a single page. If we go, sorry, this is the product page of a single product. And if we go to the homepage, here we can see all the items. As you can see, we're not logged in, but we can still access because this is mainly public. And I want to talk briefly about the filter system. So if I apply those filters, you can see that in the URL, we're encoding that we want to look for brands which are Rolex, Seiko, or Tissot with a size of 8. So we only get 8 results per page. And if we go back to our product service, here we see that we have a controller that accepts many params. Those params are then sent to a method, and the method builds a specification using Spring JPA, and it tries to find all the objects that fit in that specification. And so, for example, here now, if we come back to the filters and we select 24 results per page instead of 8, and we apply, we now may only have one page, which is correct, because we only have 13 results in this case, right? And you can see that the URL has changed, so it's very nice. Then if I log in, I created a random user with a random password too, and we can log in. The UI is the same. Again, it's an e-commerce site, and here we can see that we have a cart. So if we, for example, go into any item and we like it, we can add it to cart, and here you can see that we have added to cart. We can then go to checkout, although this is not working yet because I didn't complete the UI. So again, this is just a work in progress. I didn't want to work on the UI, I just wanted to do something related to the backend, but in the end I just decided to do a simple UI to showcase this project, but I will not go any further with it. I will probably build an Astro project in the future, but this is not the one. We can also go to our orders, our addresses, we can add new addresses, and yeah, we can log out too. So that's everything for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.